Unfortunately, straight out of Nepal in dead last with 0 elims to their name. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is 2 matches down, done, and dusted. But we still have 3 more rounds of action, mayhem, and strategy coming your way. We're going to carry on. Next match, another SA region match. And it is going to be, you guessed it, a little bit of rumble in the jungle. We'll be back for match 3 of the PUBG Mobile Series League for our Sandhawk in just a few short moments. Stick around. We'll be back soon. Alrighty, everyone, welcome back to round 3 of 5 of the PUBG Mobile Series League Grand Finals. And you already guessed it, it's time for a little rumble in the jungle. I am, of course, speaking of our smallest map for the day, the lush condensed rainforest / jungle of Sandhawk. Now, what do we need to say about Sandhawk? Well, essentially the opposite of our last match, which was Miramar, our largest map. This is going to be our smallest, just due to it being a 6x6. But it's also the most condensed map that we have in the game. What do I mean when I say condensed? I mean most lush in vegetation. There's more natural cover to take, more grass to hide inside, and trees and boulders to hide behind. So you got to be alert for a higher than average number of snakes than usual. And the third thing is that you can get anywhere you want just by deploying your chute early enough. So flight path is a bit inconsequential. Already, we are seeing Be Bold in the thick of it here with none other than their opponents in Nemesis. So let's get into it. All right. Well, it looks like 9Z is having at it with VRZ off in the distance. We'll pull that up on the alt cam here. We're not going to miss any of the action. Not if RedEyes has anything to say about it. So, as you can see, Jinx already reduced down to half of his overall health. They lost Bestia, and Jinx is down like a bad habit there and then. And boy, 9Z just laying out an onslaught. I think we're going to go tune into that just because it seems to be getting a bit more action than here. And on the alt cam, we'll go back to the B-Bold Nemesis confrontation. All right, with Poppy being the last hope for VRZ, that is that. Quick work done, and VRZ is sent right on back to lobby by the likes of 9Z Globant. So, no time to waste. Alpha 7 and AGG in the thick of it. Now, Alpha 7 has not had an ideal start to their day by any means necessary. They doesn't look like they're having a great Renown 3 either. They've already lost Urso early on, bringing them down to a 3-piece, and not really having been able to put up much in terms of numbers in match 1 or 2. It is looking a little bit grim. All right, tuning in to GD85 of Intense Gaming. Why? Because he is in relatively close proximity to a member of 6K. This is Strap working his way up, and I don't think GD85 even knows. Yeah, he's not here. He's DC'd. What is happening? Well, hello to the free kill there and then. Yeah. All right, well, we saw it. Getting eyes here on Be Bold in this very close confrontation with Nemesis. Catching eyes on Spec. Matter of factly, Spec readily equipped with the UMP AK-47. AGG getting another takedown on Alpha 7 in the distance. This time it's Rocks taken down and Gizer Gamer. So that's going to leave Alpha 7 in the hands of Gigano, who just takes an absolute hefty shot to the head there and quickly reduced down to 10% of his health. Heals up, but with nowhere to run and hide from the remainder of AGG V2. And it's quick work. Alpha 7 might not be Alpha right now. Well, Nemesis having a tough go of it. Spec is down, leaving things in the hands of J7 and Berlin. But J7 is just dishing out revenge here. Beautiful takedown with the UMP on Bruno Zen. David could be soon to follow. And look at this, J7 pushing in. Berlin already here. And nice, Berlin taking the distraction, getting the knock on David with a Vector, and J7 securing the thirst. And look at this, Nemesis has just squad wiped Be Bold, and they did so as a 2-piece. And look at this revive on Melis. He sticks it just in time. There is not a sliver of health on Melis. Goodness. What a clutch by J7. Nicely done. All right. I'm curious as to where our next altercation would come from. It looks like Team Queso doing some work in the distance. And I'm thinking we'll go tune into that. They do have some space on their sides here. They're firing across the waterway, but as you can see, a little bit of revenge dished out to M2MV, pardon me. And it looks like Potroke is going to be working his way over to try to secure some assistance there. So where's the next bit of action going to come from? Perhaps between Control and the Fierce, just westbound of Painan. The Fierce hasn't had a lot of screen time today, so we'll start off with the perspective from Soka's angle. Nothing happening there at the moment. And remember what I said in rounds 1 and 2, ladies and gentlemen. As to be the nature of PUBG Mobile, you know, that we are going to, at times, have bits of downtime. Now, having said that, you know, it's never less so the case than on Sandhawk, but 6x6 is not incrementally that much smaller than an 8x8. So, yeah, it makes sense that occasionally we'll have our bits of waiting time. Even can happen on the likes of Sandhawk. But remember what I said in rounds 1 and 2? Well, it applies here as well. If we do have a more passive early or mid-game, it always will transfer to a more action-packed end-game. And, oh, yep, Dauntless in the distance. Let's catch a brief glance. I guess we'll do that on the alt cam here. No, let's go to them on the main cam. And bringing back the past altercation here. Judges here on the bridge and taking some third-party shots. It's actually not going to be third-party. It's Overwatch shots from the likes of Straps. As you can see, Dauntless has been able to take down 3 members of 6K, leaving Strap alone here. And we saw some confrontation in the distance. Yep, it's going to be northbound between members of Influence Rage and Team K. So we're going to pull up both sides of this altercation. All right, Lil Boy pushing on in. Looks like Federal dishing out a knock on 2M2B, but taking a lot of damage in retaliation. Desperately in need of some meds, but no time. And he tries to keep the immediate threat of Silence off at bay, but that DBS sounds the same in every language. And boy, that's 3 knocks on Influence, leaving everything in the hands of Diego. Diego deciding not to break away. He is not going to cut his losses, and you can understand why. It's a 1v1 here between Team Queso and Influence, but Silence is securing this revive on Potro, so time is certainly of the essence for Diego. Oof. Well, looks like Silence sounds, you know, a little bit louder than anything else. You know, the silence speaks volumes, and it's quick work. Going to tune in to the final hope for intense gaming here, which is going to be Romulozin, pardon me. Romulozin not far off from members of Control, but it doesn't look like he is overly eager to bring any unnecessary attention to himself, and that's understandable. And having a look at the playing field, yeah, I guess the closest thing, AGG securing a thirst from the dead zone, but the closest thing to action at this point is going to have to probably be either between Intense Gaming and a 1v4 against Control, or perhaps members of Nemesis firing from the southbound portion of zone northbound into the Death Wolves. And if not that, you know what? We could even get some action a little bit northbound here between Queso and members of Zombie Boys, or Death Wolves and the Fierce. Even a little congestion forming on the west now, and it looks like that's where we're going as Smoke Esports and Maryland prepare to square off. And yep, Gajo at the forefront, immediately downed. He dished out a little bit of damage, but you know, already knew. Myth cooking up a utility of his own, taking Sapiao down to half health, but it's not enough. And oof, Goblin is downed as well, leaving everything in the hands of Miyaki and Myth. And Miyaki is a little ways off and dodging a quick push. However, the high ground advantage working in full form there. And just like that, the smoke has dissipated, and Maryland coming out successful with 4 elims to their name, carrying on as a full 4-piece. All right. Where's the bit of action going to come from at this point? We are still dealing with 12 teams and 40 players spread out, and we are literally in the almost done with stage 3. We still only have a minute and a half left of stage 3. All the while, Queso and the Fierce prepare for an altercation. Silence cooking up a preparation utility, while Patrol using a DBS here for that evening of the odds, so to speak. And, oh, such an opportunity wasted there by Potro. And the second nade by Zeeks crashes down on him and sending the Queso back to lobby. That cheese is burnt. All right. Now, nothing was more cheesy than that joke, I'm aware. Just know that I can't stop it. Alright, well, I do see the Intense Gaming solo, but realistically, he's been there for quite some time, and I don't think he's gonna engage unnecessarily. Well, as I say that, who knows? Well, Straight Out Nepal is reduced down to half their starting lineup. We saw them lose Vortex very early on. Apparently, WDN has been removed from the equation as well, which is going to reduce SON down to half their starting lineup. And boy, that is in a tough situation with a full 4-piece of Maryland holding the high ground in Overwatch. But on top of that, Zombie Boys are their much closer threat, and any attention given to Maryland is almost certainly going to compromise his position to the Zombie Boys. All right. Tell you what, we're going to catch eyes just briefly on this solo from Intense, just because it does look like he might be getting sandwiched in between members of Control Esports and Dauntless. All right, a bit of the waiting game here. Tuning back over to Aorsic here of Zombie Boys, because it looks like he's got his eyes set on members of SON. Tell you what, we'll get both sides of the altercation up on the screen just because it doesn't seem like we have anything else happening at the moment. Yeah, and the solo from IG was spotted and quickly thirsted to follow. Not a lot he could have done in that situation. Outnumbered, outmanned, and outgunned. But Wolf OP and King of SON just in a uncomfortable position, dangerously close to the Zombie Boys, but a little third-party unintentional assistance coming from Maryland Esports as they come in for some third-party surprise angles on the Zombie Boys. Now, Wolf OP and King had one shot there, and that was to let them Maryland and Zombie duke it out and either retreat or try to get some third-party kill steals. But we have another altercation on the board here, this time between the likes of Control and their outbound threat in Nemesis. Nemesis, let's get them up on the screen here. Now, we saw J7, Nemesis on the alt screen, by the way. We saw J7 with an absolute slaughterhouse clutch there, evening the odds for his team, and essentially takedowns on Maryland by Aorsic. It's good, quick work. I mean, he is ultimately taken down, but not before making a crushing impact onto the Zombie Boys, or onto Control Esports, pardon me. And just like, pardon me, goodness. I'm reading all these things here. Onto, onto Maryland Esports. But on the alt feed, Nemesis and Control duking it out as well. And Smiley, unfortunately, messes up his own grenade at the worst of times, doing the most damage to himself. And 17K really in a tight pinch here. And to add to it, making matters worse, that blue zone coming in at the worst of times. Smiley down to just 2 first aids left. He is the last final hope for the Zombie Boys before actually turning into the zombie and sent back to the lobby. And it looks like we've got more action here on the board. More members of Nemesis duking it out with the Death Wolves, with Berlin up at the forefront of it. And that nade, we caught it on the alt cam. It was beautiful. And that is it for the Zombie Boys. But out of the frying pan into the fire as straight out of Nepal, Wolf and King are now here dealing with a 2v4 to pick off the remains. And Berlin dealing with members of Dauntless, all the while having the Death Wolves just a few meters from them. I gotta say, it does not seem like the best of ideas in this situation. And looks like the Fierce and AGG having at it in the distance. Gonna switch over to Maryland with Dan jump shot with a DBS and Sapu adding on to it the takedown. And now Dan pushing forward, securing the thirst, and that is a nice healthy 8 elims for Maryland. No time to waste. Static, the last final hope for the Fierce, trying to make his final stand, just making it rain hellfire with some warning utilities outwards towards 9Z, trying to enshroud himself in a cloud of smoke. AGG coming in as well. This could be the brief hope, this only potential to stay alive for Static, and he does get a nice easy kill there on Fran, who was not expecting more trouble there. Well, J7 working his way in as Dauntless and members of Death Wolves have at it on the alt feed. Now, Melgar, the final hope for AGG V2 with multiple members of 9Z shooting in, and it's going to be a third party from Maryland that ultimately undoes him. Goodness. 5 teams remains spread out across 12 people, and 3 of these 5 are here, and just like that, Timpa finishing J7 of Nemesis, and that's going to be it for Nemesis Esports. Now, Dauntless, Claws, and Banger finding themselves in a tough situation, sandwiched in between Maryland and Death Wolves, and yes, Banger is down. Switching my attention to Claws here, and boy, he is a bit risky, and yes, just barely dodging the back-end shots from Death Wolves, and the molly turning him into a birthday candle, and just like that, Maryland gets the third-party elim steal, and that's going to bring Maryland right on up to, oh my goodness, 13 elims for Maryland. This is a completely different performance than previous. Now we're going to have to get their perspective on the screen and watch some of the magic happening. Hey, Dream. All right, it is the end game. Let's get it. Death Wolves firing outwards towards Maryland. Not a single lift of damage connecting, but nades crashing down on Gizao in retaliation, taking him down to below half health, and Trash shot down to extremely dangerously low health, desperately needing to heal. All the while, Maryland and the Death Wolves here, out, shot down to half health himself. This is an opportunity for 9Z to come in for a third party from hell. Thank you is the last hope for Maryland and quickly eliminated. Ladies and gentlemen, our final 2 teams. It's a 2v2. A fair fight. Gizao and Trash of Death Wolves versus Choro Simple and Elite of 9Z. All right, and Guizano just in the most vulnerable of positions. He doesn't have the Spectator's 2020 vision. Doesn't know all the info that we have, but that's going to either way reduce it down to a 1v2, and unfortunately Gizao is responsible for all 4 of the Death Wolves eliminations, so it is going to be a tough one. But hey, stranger things and, you know, worse odds have happened in professional games than a 1v2, so anything can happen. But Trash sent into a trash can right there and then, and just like that, the deed is done. Round 3 of 5 is down, done, and dusted, and any way you look at it, that's got to be, pardon me, game over. And what a match it was. 9Z Globin putting up a phenomenal performance and boasting a very healthy 10 elims to add on to a chicken dinner on the tip of their tongue finish. That's going to be a healthy 20-point gain for 9Z Globin in round 3 alone. The Death Wolves, say what you want. You know, Gizao may have been the only one getting eliminations, but the remainder of the team was also, well, I guess Gizao also made it to the end game, but they were able to secure some positioning. Now, granted, the scoring structure here is a little bit less weighted on placement, so it's only 6 points to second place, but with 4 elims to add on to it, that's a healthy 10-point gain for the Death Wolves. We got Maryland in third. Now, this is what's extra impressive, because while they may only have, 4 or 5 placement points, that's being added on to a extremely healthy 14 eliminations. That's the highest that we've seen so far tonight. Dauntless working their way into 4th place and doing so with 7 elims spread between Timpa and Claus alone. Nemesis working their way into 5th and doing so with a healthy 7 elims. AGG, much better performance in these last 2 rounds. This time, a 6th place finish. Last match, I believe they got 8th, but this time they are able to secure 6th place, and I believe last match was 8th place with 1 elim. So that really was very little in terms of placement and only a 1 elim point. I think they had like a 3-point gain up from it. But this match, it's a little bit more placement points, but to add on to it 9 elims, that's a very healthy elim count for 1 match alone. And that's going to be a nice boost up for them. The Fierce in 7th with 3. Control in 8th with 2. Straight out of Nepal, straight into 9th place with 1 kill from Wolf OP. The Zombie Boys in 10th, but with 0 kills to speak of. Intense in 11th, also with 0. Team Queso in 12th, but boasting a pretty impressive 6 elims, 5 of which go to silence before being taken out. The smoke has dissipated once again with Smoke Esports in 13th place and 0 elims. Influence in 14th with 2. 6 Karma in 15th with 1 from Strap. Be Bold in 16th with 1 from David. Alpha 7, not the Alpha 7 I'm used to. 17th place, 0 elims. And lastly, VRZ in 18th and last place with 0 as well. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we still have 2 more rounds of action, mayhem, and strategy. Now, we have dived into all the different geographies that we'll be getting into for the day, but now it's time to take things back for the do-over. We'll be back at you in just a few short moments for round 4 of 5 of the PUBG Mobile Series League Grand Finals as we work our way back into a little destruction in the desert for Miramar in just a few short moments. Stick around. We'll be back soon. Alrighty, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for round 4 of 5, and we're working our way right on back. I apparently had an old graphic for the map rotation, so it's actually going to be Erangel for round 4, and everything that we really need to say about Erangel, we got out of the way in rounds 1, so I don't think we need to get much into that. We're just going to focus on the flight path and where teams are actually going to be jumping. So, here we have it. Once again, actually I'll say not once again, this is not quite as favoring of a flight path as they were given in round 1, but it's not a bad one by any means. It's still going to leave plenty of cities and compounds up for grabs. It just might exclude places like, let's say, Milta Power, Lipovka, Kameshki, Stalber, and realistically, that shouldn't change up anyone's game plan too much. But what is interesting to note is just all the amount of water occupying this very first zone. It's almost 50% of it, meaning that us, the viewer, we are due for a much more action-packed early game than we may have gotten otherwise. So we're going to get into it right here and now, and we're going to start off with this little cluster forming here between Influence, Rage, and Nemesis, landing at the ferry pier together. Okay, well, it looks like one member of Influence, Diego, it was going to be a little bit in a troubled position. Actually, pardon me, that's going to be Lil Boy, who is driving or flying down with the full squad of Nemesis, and they're probably wondering what in the heck is he thinking, but he's doing so with a serious game plan going as the remainder of his team, who already has some weaponry, is here, and he's scouting their positioning, and it just wrecks into spec. What a amazing play on their end. It's a risky one. I've never seen it done, to be honest, and boy, is it gonna pay off in spades. Oh, they didn't get the finish on spec? Well, I cast or cursed him as Diego gets them right then and there. So Nemesis is now in the hands of J7, Berlin, and Melas. Berlin, a sneaky water snake. J7 holding position. He does have level 1 armor and something in terms of weaponry, an AUG-23. Looks like Diego has some knowledge, though, of his whereabouts, because it looks like he might be cooking up a utility. And I think I'm going to have to withdraw that statement. J7 with the easiest knock of the match so far. All the while, Control and Intense having at it in the distance. We'll pull that up on the alt cam. All right. Yeah, they are Control and Intense having at it with ZN333 already out of the equation. Remix and Shiva just across the way with Zeus Boy on the first floor. And Intense has already been reduced down to half their lineup. And that is it for Nemesis on, or at least for J7 on the main cam. Now they are reduced down to half of their starting lineup. Melis and Berlin remain. All right, we're going to get eyes on Melis here. Berlin's location clearly compromised there, but that could be the saving grace for Melis, just because he was about to be swarmed on. And if Federal and Diego push over to Berlin, he might be able to catch an angle. Well, with Zeus Boy down, Intense Gaming is in the hands of Mulozen, and that is it for them. Get out of there. Berlin with a beautiful two-piece takedown, but unfortunately, it was not enough as the remainder of Influence came and passed a little influence onto him. All right, no time to waste because we got VRZ in the equation, getting some action already on the board, this time against the likes of 6 Karma. We'll pull up 6 Karma on the alt screen as well. Actually, we'll pull up 6 Karma on the main screen. I don't think they've had any screen time so far today. On the main screen, at least. All right. Well, it's Strap who's closest in the thick of it here. And look at that. Straight out of Nepal doing some work in the distance on AGG. Now Strap in this 1v2. Oh, Bestia is down right there and then. Strap is going to go in. All the while, Control and the Fierce having at it in the distance. Oh, well, Strap is out. Now Saz remains, but he is dealing with members of Be Bold, putting a hurting onto De Bruno's end, but unfortunately for him, taking a lot of damage in retaliation and desperately in need of a heal. He does get to a position of some geographical cover to try to do so, and maybe even a shot of reviving. But meanwhile, Be Bold driving right by AGG. David drawing him out. This is really the opportunity that D. Lorenzen would need. But David coming up as well, and this is honestly a bit of a reckless strategy here by Be Bold. Now, I'm not sure if they're driving around to try to draw out the locations of VRZ, but realistically, I mean, there were several opportunities VRZ had to get them. So it's a bit unfortunate that they weren't able to clutch that, but that's all right. Tuning my attention around here. Looks like the Fierce is going to get out of that cluster. Well, half of them are. Tell you what, only half. But we're going to go over to the teammate Ang here, who is still not far off from members of Control Esports and holding them off in the dead zone. Now remember, as this match progresses, we're still in stage 1, but as this match progresses, as to be the nature of PUBG Mobile, once that zone shrinks, the damage output is going to be much higher, and especially on this, where we have sped up zones and zone damage boosted. And you can look, this is zone 1, and look at it chipping, or just entering the beginning stages of zone 2. Be Bold is over 2,700 meters outside of the zone, and look at that chipping away at their health. That is stage 2. All right, we're hearing some shots, and that's still off in the dead zone here. We're going to tune our attention on the main cam, I guess, to this remainder of 6 Karma. At this point, it's Saz and Marty alone. And yeah, they are holding position in a tiny shack here. Now that I see very often being a team's undoing. What you see it as cover from bullets, but realistically it's a bucket, a prison that they can throw a nade on. And it doesn't even matter if they, as long as the nade makes it through the window, you're done for. Dauntless, with a knock on Judges, is all that Elite needed to try to push up. But I think once he did, he realized he was a little bit outnumbered and had to reorient his attention. All the while, Be Bold on the ultimate, hurting on the remainder of 6K. Elite taking a lot of damage there, taking down to below half health. And looks like Team Queso and the Death Wolves in the distance. We'll pull that up on the alt cam right now. Death Wolves. Oh, and on top of that, 9Z still putting some work in. Looks like they got their first elim on the board here for the match. Maryland and the Fierce having at it. Too many fights breaking out all at once. Goodness. Okay, so out of the thick of it already. Back to Be Bold, potentially. Nah, let's go to the 3-piece northbound between Dauntless, 9Z, and Zombie Boys. All right, well, Chaco is down there and then. Quick work, leaving everything in the hands of Elite. And unfortunately for him, his position is not a secret. Interestingly enough, if that vehicle's already exploded, which it is, then this is quite an awesome little cover piece that he's got here between the hay bale and the car. But with multiple... Oh, goodness, he was just taken out right there and then, and I didn't even notice. Uh-oh. Looks like we had a little bit of a crash, but no worries, ladies and gentlemen. As I pull this back up, we'll use the alt cam. Don't worry, we will get right on back in there, no problem. Yeah, so far nothing else happening on the playing field. I don't see this congestion here, though, is got me concerned for members of I guess, the last hope for 6K, and it does look like we just saw it. 6K Marty eliminated. All right, we are back in, just rendering in. Okay. So, looks like Influence and Alpha 7 about to have at it. Let's have a look. See, Alpha 7 still a full 4-piece, but 0 elims to their name. We're going to pull up Maryland Esports on the alt cam here. And yeah, that's the shots being put outwards towards the Fierce. And it looks like they did get the finish. You know, securing it right there and then. It's going to bring Maryland up to 4 elims, but they are so far out of zone with not a lot of time to work their way in. That zone is going to hurt something fierce. Claus of Dauntless looks like he is about to suffer an elimination on him, leaving Tempa as the final hope for that team. And elsewhere on the board, are we going to be missing anything? This is probably the closest cluster here. And yeah, it looks like Tempa of Dauntless is firing away against a situation where he is outnumbered, outmanned, and outgunned. And I think he's realizing that and going to use this opportunity to try to retreat. We got Gizera Gamer overwatching with a little distance here between himself and his opposition in Influence Rage. That's Federal, not far off. Haven't seen much performance from Federal today. Well, this zone here has shifted. Looks like we're going to get some action between Straight Out Nepal and Smoke. Now, these are both teams that really have a lot to prove here. They have not had the best day so far. King of SON swallowing a lot of bullets there. And yes, that is the knock by Myth right there and then. Okay, well, the Goblin has showed up, and the DBS does what DBS does. Sounding the same in every language. And that is going to be a down on WDN. Well, Miyaki, Myth. Oh, it was Gajo who was closest. Gajo knocked at the hands of Wolf OP. Assistance is on the way, but will it be enough? Wolf OP cooking up a utility here. Going to try to make it rain. A little bit of hellfire onto Myth. Does not hit the mark. And ultimately, the long-distance shot from their third teammate, Miyaki, is what takes them down. And just like that, Smoke Esports now up to a full 8 elims and a full 4-piece team as we reach the concluding portions of Stage 3. This is a pretty promising performance from them. Alpha 7 closing in on Maryland. We got Gizera Gamer here at the forefront of it, and it looked like there was going to be a confrontation that somehow dissipated. Hey guys, welcome in on the YouTube. Welcome in on the Twitch. Goodness. Thank you guys so much for being here. It is very much appreciated. If you're rooting for a specific team in the chat, be sure to let me know. If you're going to be nice enough to tune into the stream, I'll absolutely be nice enough to tune into the teams that you're here to see. Just let me know. All right, we got some shots towards our remaining solo for Dauntless, Tempa. But the big concern here would be the northbound altercation between Be Bold and Zombie Boys. Zombie Boys with 4 elims. They lost Crazy early on, but still with 4 elims to their name and a 3-piece to move forward with. Only 31 players on the board. It's possible. Anything is possible. The only thing you can predict in PUBG Mobile Esports is unpredictability. Now, you can see a lot of hesitance here by Aorsic in terms of engaging with Be Bold, and it makes sense. They only have 1 shot to get that element of surprise, get that easy knock before Be Bold can really adjust and calibrate their positioning and cover. So as long as they don't know about him, he's got to wait for the right moment. He knows it's time to strike, or if they start driving away and their time is run out. And, well, that was that. Element of surprise is out the window, and it did not amount to much. We got the Death Wolves here duking it out. Long distance battle with Alpha 7. It does look like Gizera Gamer has been knocked, leaving it in the hands of Cafe, Urso, and Rox. Cafe taking some third-party shots from none other than Death Wolves. And if you look at it realistically, This is a tough position for Alpha 7. They do have high ground, but they are sandwiched in between numerous teams. I'm going to tune my attention to Robert GG as he is being chased and pursued by Influence Rage. But if he can bait them back to his teammates, it could be an advantage towards Control, luring them into a trap. But it looks like Federal not so easily fooled here, and it's actually Alpha 7 firing in on Control. But here we go. Yep, Federal pushing up to Alpha 7, and with a beautiful takedown on rocks with the Groza. Quick work done. Already, Influence has worked their way up to 5 elims, and this could be elim number 6, and it looks like it will be, as Flaw getting the takedown, or getting the thirst, I should say. Cafe outnumbered, outmanned, outgunned, and surrounded by Influence Rage. The cafe has been closed. All right. Well, the Smoking Goblin, Smoke Esports getting another takedown. This time on Control Esports is Robert GG, and that's going to leave Remix as, well, pardon me, Remix as the last hope for the team, and he's going to try to take himself and another person out with him. He nades, unfortunately, nades himself. He does get the nade knock on the Goblin, but you know, not necessarily the best move. But, you know, another thing can be said. You didn't give a point to the enemy. All right. Where's our next bit of action going to come from? Could be between Maryland and members of Be Bold. Could be. Oh, no. I'll tell you what it's going to be. Zombie Boys and Dauntless. Or, pardon me. Zombie Boys and INF? Yeah, Zombie Boys and INF. And just like that, it is quick work. Dauntless and INF. And it looks like Influence Rage is out of the equation. Gonna switch attention to the Death Wolves here on the main cam. On the alt cam, we'll pull up of Maryland. Looks like he's going to try to retreat from the final member of Death Wolves, or one of the final members of Death Wolves, Obscure. Look at this. 2 guys in shacks at different shacks. This is an interesting strategy. And honestly, you know, this could be kind of a smart play here, because the real disadvantages of these shacks comes in when someone pushes on you. But with both of these shacks being in the line of sight of one another, they could technically provide some overwatch and cover fire to the other teammate. But, oh boy, look at this. All these teams are finding themselves outside of zone, with exception to Smoke Esports. And Trash in a vulnerable position. It looks like Maryland going to be pushed on by Be Bold right here and now. Sapio is out of there and turned into a bowling pin right there and then. It's down to Thank You and now for Maryland Esports. Thank You dishing out a bit of damage right there and then. Looks like Brundozen is knocked, but taking some side damage from a third party from Zombie Boys, it looks like. Oh, it's either from Zombie Boys or from the Death Wolves. And unfortunately, for the Death Wolves, the zombies are already dealing with them as well. But that could be the saving grace for Maryland. Thank You, at least. Looks like is attempting a risky revive here, but going to show just how crucial those smokes can be at a late stage in-game here when compound cover becomes so few and far between. All right, that's firing outwards towards Trash. Looks like there's a knock, almost about to be a thirst, but leaving themselves a little bit vulnerable to their nearest threat, which is Be Bold. Be Bold doesn't seem to be falling for the bait here. Not too eager for that early altercation here, not until they reach this new positioning in zone. Now, a little bit of context here that could be important if someone isn't familiar with PUBG Mobile Esports. Once they get to the top 8 teams, every team that's eliminated is additional points for the remaining team. It's placement points. So everyone being hesitant right now makes sense because every second that you stay alive, you know, any team that's taken out now is just additional points without having to put the work in. Obscura of Deathwolf makes his location known, and it's actually going to be Zombie Boys coming in for a third party. Sapu, in shooting, made sure his location was compromised as well. So now it's down to Yuno, and he is right here in the thick of it. Obscure with a jump shot, ninja-like right there. Beautifully done. And now, with an opportunity to third party this altercation between Be Bold and Smoke, at this point, I don't think that opportunity is really worth taking. Myth pushing up to the altercation and is done. The smoke has dissipated, and now, ladies and gentlemen, we're down to our final 4 teams as we approach the in-game for round 4 or 5 of the PUBG Mobile Series League Grand Finals.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Obscure driving right up. Gonna say, you know what, if no one's claiming this shack, I'll be right here. And Brundozen was trying for a quick charge. Obscure putting the pressure on and holding him off at bay, but those shots are enough noise and commotion here. He's swallowing some retaliatory shots anytime he tries to peek at this point. Understandable. And luckily for him, he does find the favor of this new zone. The only team who doesn't is VRZ, and unfortunately for them, there is no more building cover, I don't think, on the edge of that zone. So they are going to have to go work their way out into the field. Bestia creeping forward slowly, making sure to take a vehicle with them, because when compound cover is few and far between, if you're running low on those smoke utilities, that vehicle, you know, a dead vehicle can be sometimes the only thing stopping the bullets from hitting you. It could be the only difference maker between a third place finish and a second place finish, or a second and a first. But take notice here, we got a 4v3v1 to end round 4. This should not be an opportunity where VRZ is really able to drive around and spread out like this. It just boils down to the hesitation of the other teams. Obscure of Deathwolves makes plenty of sense to me because he's a solo, but the full 4-piece of Be Bold, their hesitance is a little bit questionable to me. Now, they do know about Obscure's position, so maybe it's to avoid putting themselves in a vulnerable position where they can be taken out by him, but realistically, this is just a bit hesitant for a 3-team endgame when one team is a full 4-piece. Wow. The patience that these teams are exerting is, well, it's frustrating, to say the least. Hey, TS. How are you? What's up, Warlord? I'm streaming with viewers. Join me with Facecam. Wait, what? Here we have it. We are down to 2 teams, y'all. Oh, what a nade onto Bestia! Reducing it down to Jinx and Kush here. And the nade's just crashing down on Jinx as he tries to heal up. He is naded down and naded out of there. It's all down to Kush, and Kush alone. And spotted like the sneaky snake in the grass he was. Goodness gracious. As much as I wanted to condemn the hesitance by Be Bold, you gotta give credit where credit is due. That patience certainly paid off right there and then. Well, any way you look at it, though, that is game over. over, and what a game it was as Be Bold acquires that chicken dinner on the tip of their tongue. First place finish with 10 elims to add on to it. That is a healthy 20-point gain for Be Bold in round 4. We got VRZ in second with 5. The Death Wolves howling their way into third with 3. Zombie Boys in fourth with 7. We got Smoky Sports showing us so much improvement there. 5th place and doing so with 11 elims. Dauntless in 6th with 7 elims, all of which belong to Tempa alone. Golly, that's a heavy backpack. Maryland in 7th with 4. We got Influence in 8th with 7. Control Esports working their way into 9th with 4. Alpha 7, 10th with 0. Straight Out of Nepal, 11th with 4, 3 of which came from Wolf OP. The Fierce in 12th with 1 kill to Ong. We got 6 Karma in 13th with 0. Team Queso in 14th with 2. 9 Z Globant in 15th with 1 from Choros. We got Nemesis in 6th with 0. AGG in 17th with 0. And lastly, Intense Gaming in 18th with 1 to Gromulozin. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that does leave 4 rounds down, done, and dusted, but we still have 1 match ahead of us. That's right, 1 match to decide it all. Who is going to be taking home that first place prize, that $240 of a $500 prize pool? Well, only time will tell as we return for round 5 of 5 of the PUBG Mobile Series League Grand Finals in just a few short moments. Stick around, we'll be back soon. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our fifth and our final round of the PUBG Mobile Series League Grand Finals. It all boils down to this. Everything that these teams have worked so hard for over the past couple weeks, all summarized in 5 very short matches to determine who wants their shot at that first place slice of the $500 prize pool. That's $240 to first place alone. So it all comes down to a little destruction in the desert as we return for our 5th and final match in Miramar. Without further ado, we're going to go into the flight path and where teams are going, because we went into the breakdown of this map in match 2. Now, this time around, getting a little bit less of an opportune flight path, but realistically, not a bad one. And I'll say why. And anyone who's seen me commentate maybe, older than a year ago knows this. But it's because of this route from Minas del Sur to Campo Militar, and this is running perpendicular to it, leaving a lot of options. But already, we got some action on the board as Control and Influence Rage duke it out here and now. Federal finding himself a M249 Flaw, and Diego at the forefront of this push. Flaw with a mini in hand, not the ideal weapon for it. And Diego with an MK12, but still enough to get the job done. We're going to tune in to the final hope now for Control, which, a team that really showed so much promise at the beginning of the day and really swallowing a hefty high-calorie serving of bad luck here, dropping in with Influence, a team who really didn't have a lot to lose entering this match. And so Control is reduced down to their final hope and not a lot of ways of getting out of there. But there's too much action on the board. We've got Maryland Duke landing now with members of Team Queso off in the western portions. Alpha 7 and Dauntless prepare for an altercation. Tell you what, we're actually going to go back to this because teams are still landing. We got some congestion between the likes of 6K and Intense Gaming. It does look like, yeah, we're going to go to Cielo of Intense here. All the while, Nemesis and Zombie Boys are going to have at it in the distance. We'll pull that up on the alt cam. Sorry about that. All right. So Cielo not far off in proximity from the opposition in 6 Karma, but not really anything happening with it. It looks like it could be at any moment, though. 432 is a little bit injured here, down to below half health. Tell you what, we'll pull him up on the main cam and go over to the fight between Maryland and members of Team Queso on the alt. 432 desperately trying to heal, but with only bandages. Remember, this is so early on in the match. Well, 2M2V down right there and then, reducing Team Queso down to silence and silence alone. We're going to pull this up on the main cam here as everything else has become a bit stale. So thank you. Actually getting hurt from a... I don't even know from who, but oh, must have been from Patrol. Patrol was still up. Well, Silence has been silenced for Patrol, making his final stand with the ace. And thank you says thank you for the easy elims right there and then. Now, no time to waste as Dauntless and A7 have at it, continuing to have at it. Cafe is closing early, leaving things in the hands of Rox, Gizera Gamer, and Urso. Urso readily equipped with the S12, but his opposition, Claus, has a shotgun of his own, the DBS, the double barrel shotgun, the close quarter combat annihilator, and Urso trying to make the most of his shots here. And yeah, it's time to go. Claus taking a hefty load of damage. Urso as well. And then some third-party shots. Oh, my goodness. Beautifully done there by Claus. Quickly switching over to his automatic and wasting no time. Alpha 7 already reduced down to half of their starting lineup. This is just not the Alpha 7 that I expected to see today. Gizera Gamer and Rox, half the team remaining, and no real way of escaping the clutches of a full 4-piece Dauntless team. All right, and to add on to it, we got another fight breaking off on the alt cam where AGG, we got Melgar here with a beautiful high ground overwatch on Intense Gaming, and boy, is it panning out against Intense. Yep, they just lost half of their members. Now it's down to Cielo and their fourth, Moldozan. Gizera just waiting for this inevitable push from Dauntless. Oh, the over-under, it's so powerful, but not very forgiving if you miss a shot. And there it is. Claws with a little insult to injury, some shots on the crate to add on to it. We're going to switch to this little love triangle here between 6K, AGG, and Intense Gaming right here and now. All right, AGG with Cielo down is all in the hands of Gromulozan. And dishing out some damage to Fran, but not as much as he is following the retaliation. But look at that! The third party from 6 Karma, it ends up being Gromulozan's saving grace there. Now, that's almost certainly a free LM for Gromulozan as well, if he's willing to go for it. But I think I see his hesitance, and here it is, right up here on the top of the mountain, where the final hope for AGG, Mr. Melgar himself, would have a beautiful overwatch right into the rooftop. And as you can see, 6K Marty going to try to deal with the high ground holder, but I don't know. I don't know if that'll work. Looks like he's reorienting his attention to 6K here, understandably so. And elsewhere on the playing field, we have a couple points of confrontation. We've got members of Influence Rage serving as the deli meat in a peanut butter and trouble sandwich, and the Death Wolves and Smoke are the deli bread of it. We also have got members of the Fierce closing in pretty tightly on 9Z Globant. But right now, this is the closest altercation. Gonna pull up the alt cam where you can see 9Z Chaco firing down at the Fierce, but with so much distance, I don't see him being able to get an easy limb. Oh, but as I say that, I realize the spread him and his teammates have, and they were able to get a knock on Soka. Will it amount to a push? I don't think so. And so I still think my point remains that that might not be a fight worth taking. Gonna switch over to Be Bold as they just decimate their opponents in Maryland right there. Maryland, oh, pardon me, that's not a decimation, that's just one member downed. We still have, thank you, Sapayu and Dan here remaining for the team. Dan firing from the back of a buggy. Now this is certain advantages, certain disadvantages, but there is no arguing the point that if you are forced to drive around Miramar, there's no faster way to get around these dunes than the buggy. But it comes with a price in that you are much more vulnerable as a passenger or a driver. All right, AGG, Melgar holding position, and we're going to go back to Maryland here. And on the alt cam, 9Z and Smoke having at it. Elite at the forefront of it. Oh, pardon me. And Choro Simple firing from a distance. All right, Will, with thank you a little bit further off. Puts a lot of the pressure in Sapo Yu, and yes, he does get one knock with the DBS before being retaliated on, and this is trouble. Well, thank you. The last hope for Maryland pushing up on Be Bold. And boy, just swarmed on here. Getting one takedown, getting two takedowns! Maryland, thank you, with a 1v2 DBS. Can he secure the thirst and heal? Well, the Molly's crashing right next to him, but not hitting. If he gets this med off... Oh boy. David desperately trying to secure a revive. This is still a gruesome situation for thank you, as David was able to get the revive on Fran, and Fran has healed. Smoking his escape route here, if possible. And unfortunately got a little too cocky. He even had a potential escape route there, but nothing to be said against that 1v2 with the DBS. Be Bold David coming to assist his fallen teammate. And so we're going to go head on back to, well, actually not to AGG, because we know Melnar is perched up here. Well, he is fighting. He does have someone working his way up. That's Strap of 6 Karma. And Marty is down right there. And then the high ground in full effect. Once again, out of the line of sight. Now tossing a molly down to try to secure a thirst. Strap is extremely low on health. If Melgar just drops in, he has him finished. But I understand his hesitation. Once you drop, there's that brief second before you stand up that Strap could have him. Strap was able to heal, but taken down a little bit lower. And just like that, another member picked off in a 1v2 here. All right, on the alt cam, we've got 9Z and Smoke in a bit of a distance occupation. Well, Melgar is down there and then. The high ground can only take you so far. Ultimately, he will not be able to receive a revive from Cardi. Not a chance. Well, actually, I take that back. It's only Gromulozin remaining for Intense Gaming, so if Cardi C gets a line of sight and takes him down, there's a chance. Not likely to happen, though. I'm going to switch my attention to Nemesis, where Spec and J7, well, I guess just Spec here, really, finds himself reasonably close to members of Zombie Boys. Not going to happen. All right. Well, then, Gromulozin of Intense Gaming could catch the off angle on the remainder of 6 Karma. Yeah, we're not missing anything else on the board just yet. Yeah, Strap is currently stuck in between a rock and a hard place. Him and his teammate, 432, are sandwiched in between AGG and Intense, but it does look like the solo from Intense, Gromulozin, is going to make his great escape right here and now. So 6K should be able to get out of this. We're going to return our attention here to VRZ, driving up relatively close to members of AGG. Now, as I say that, the final hope for AGG, which is, he just became the final hope for AGG as his teammate was taken off during the transition switch. It's Cardi C, and Cardi C responsible for literally none of the team's elims, but is the last hope for the team. All the while, we got the last hope for Intense Gaming. Gromulozin here taking some warning shots out towards 6 Karma's direction. 432 with a 6x M249. Y'all, you don't often see it, but look at him. Single tapping away and suffering the consequences as the Mini retaliates shots to the dome. All right, so I guess Cardi C of AGG, the final hope for AGG, could face a little bit of confrontation here. Yeah, it looks like it's going to happen with members of Be Bold. On the alt cam, we've got the final hope for Control Esports' Remix, very dangerously close to 9Z. All right, Gromulozin wasting no time, getting one finish before reverting his attention to 6 Karma. 432 taking a hefty load of damage. On the alt cam, Remix pushing in on members of Team 12, 9Z Globin. He's outnumbered, outmanned, and outgunned. Can he pull this off? Tell you what, we're going to go tune into it. And Caster cursed just like that. All right, well, Federal of Influence getting a brief line of sight on members of 9Z, but not really able to do much from his position there. So, where should we divert our attention to? I mean, realistically, there's quite a cluster here. So, yeah, it looks like 9Z and Smoke Esports about to have at it. Who is the one closest? It will be Elite. And Elite is caster cursed as well, leaving things in the hands of Connor and Choros. And they have a line on Smoke Esports, but as you can see, Smoke's Miyaki is all too aware of Simple's location. And elsewhere on the board, there's not a lot of action happening right now. We still have 12 teams up, remaining spread across 38 players, so quite a lot of people still on the board here. We are definitely due for a bloodbath in game to end the PUBG Mobile Series League Grand Finals. I think what we'll do, keeping up here, I'm going to divert my attention to Intense Gaming Gromulozin here. Not far off from multiple members of AGZ. Pardon me, VRZ. Mixed up two teams' names there. Looks like, actually, we also have another close threat to VRZ, and this time it's going to be for 6K. 6K at this point is a two-piece, and oh my goodness, 432 is knocked from a third party from the solo of Intense Gaming as we transitioned over, leaving everything in the hands of Strap alone, who is desperately trying to heal. The order in which he healed may have been a bit risky. Getting his boost off before the first aid, probably a problematic decision, but it worked out okay in this case. But now he finds himself in a 1v4 with a low ground disadvantage. His location is not a secret at all. And with 4 members on VRZ, the ability to spread out and get multiple lines of sight is just imminent. He has no escape route. Tell you what, we'll get it from his perspective. If VRZ leaves this, it is a huge mistake. A 4v1 that they retreated from. All right. Well, Nemesis here and now, duking it out with 9Z. That's J7 being downed. Spec and Mellas and Berlin remain. And it looks like they did finish it off. Now Zombie Boy's in the thick of it here. Coming out of an altercation barely. But it looks like whatever knock was done by them has not been thirsted in their favor. And now Aorsic, unfortunately, Smiley was just taken off the back of that buggy. Remember the advantages versus disadvantages of the buggy. It's the fastest to navigate the dunes and divots of Miramar, but it is also one of the more vulnerable vehicles to be shot from. So I think we just witnessed the disadvantage right before our eyes. Well, Be Bold and the Fierce here and now in the dead zone. It's going down as Fran gets a finish on Zeke's. Soka preparing for an altercation with Fran. Ong just sipping on some of that blue zone damage. Fran going to try to make his great escape here with a buggy of his own. And that actually puts Static closer to the altercation. And as I say that, Ong swallowing the damage. It's a vehicle explosion to take him and Soka out. That leaves Static alone. And oh man, no way of getting revives with his team that far out of the safe zone. And he is going to lay low, ideally, and let these numbers dwindle. Be Bold does not know his location. All he has to do is lay low under the radar, at least get some placement points as Be Bold prepares to face off against Smoke, but it's actually a third party from VRZ. Oh, man. Well, Bulldozen going to have to use some of that vehicle cover as Smoke literally aims out and shooting through the smoke. Smoke can't stop Smoke Esports. Goodness knows my corny puns are just really bad. All right, well, Miyake of Smoke getting the takedown on Fran and a quick thirst to follow, leaving Boomdozen as the final hope. And boy, those nades are just crashing around. Can he get this heal off? Nope, that candle's burning bright, and down he goes. Make a wish. All right. Well, we got a cluster here forming between Dauntless and the opposition in Death Wolves. At this point, Dauntless is down to a 3-piece of Tempa, Judges, and Claws. Claws still just carrying a hefty load of the team's eliminations and about to add another one to it, multiple to it. DBS for the knock and bringing the team's kills way up. He gets his 5th and his 6th elimination for the match right there and then. I've been watching Claus play for years, and this guy has just improved incrementally over that time. He is such a phenomenal player. Even as a solo in outnumbered situations, he has proven himself time and time again. I think he's had 2 or 3 squad wipes today alone. All right, Gromulozin is done for. just picked apart by the numbers, the high ground. You choose which advantage Dauntless had. It was numerous ones, but they are not letting their eye off the prize here. On the alt cam, we're going to pull up a potential altercation between Smoke and Influence. As you can see, Federal desperately needing to heal. Flaw overwatching and cover firing. Lil Boy doing a bit of the same. And Smoke keeping the pressure on. Alright, we're hearing more shots. More members of Dauntless spreading out. It looks like one of their members has gone down south to take on a member of Nemesis. Luckily for him, I believe that actually is a solo. Oh, no, it's not. Yeah, moving down south, Tempa could be in big trouble. But look at him. A sneaky desert snake hiding in the bush. You know, he's a mummy. A mummy in the desert. And his natural element, I'm not even laughing at my jokes and I can't stop them. All right, well, Claws just patient as ever. Not wasting any opportunities here, but not presenting any opportunities either. Meaning he is not going to make any risky peeks as a two-piece onto the Death Wolves, especially not when third-party shots are coming in. Now, look, Smoke and Influence Rage going to have at it here and now. Little Boy on, oh, pardon me, Myth on the main cam here. Shot down to below half health. And in a real conundrum here. Lil Boy at full health. Federal knocked yet again. Lil Boy ready and waiting here. Going to put a preemptive molly to hold his opposition off at bay. Looks like another teammate is down. Lil Boy retaliates, but barely surviving. And it's Miyake coming in for the finish. Smoke Esports really just putting a hurting down. We're sitting back to the Death Wolves as a two-piece of Gizao and Radaboy holding position, but holding position with members of, oh, pardon me, I was going to say members of 13, but they have been eliminated. So now, down to our final 3 teams spread across 10 people. It's Nemesis, Smoke Esports, and the Death Wolves. We got ourselves a 4v4v2 to end the final match of the PUBG Mobile Series League Grand Finals. Nades coming in from Berlin, aiming in at Guizano, but Radaboy is able to escape the building. Will he be able to catch them unawares? Oof, Gizao is naded down. Looks like here it is, his final stand, and it is not gonna be enough. What an absolute slaughterhouse finish for the boys in Nemesis. I love to see that. Love it, love it, love it. Well done and very well deserved there. Goodness gracious. What a match. What a perfect way to end the Series League, at least this season of the Series League. Nemesis leaving all the cards out on the table, taking that gold medal chicken dinner on the tip of their tongue finish, and doing so boasting a very healthy 8 elims. All right. We've got members of Smoke. Listen, pardon me, Death Wolves in second with 4. Smoke, that is a second strong performance in a row. This time, ain't nothing wrong with a bronze medal if you're taking 9 limbs along with it. That's a healthy point gain for them. Dauntless in 4th place this time, but hey, 10 elims is definitely going to alleviate a little bit of slack in that placement bracket. Influence Rage in 5th place with 5. Between Lil Boy and Federal alone. The Fierce in 6th, but with a big old 0 for elims. We got Intense Gaming in 7th with 1 elim to Gromulozin. VRZ Esports in 8th with 1 to Bestia. We got Be Bold in 9th. They were bold, but eliminated in 9th place with 8 elims between 3 of their players. Zombie Boys living up to their name, unfortunately. 10th place, 0 elims. We got 6 Karma working into 11th with 3. 9Z Globin in 12th with 1 elim to Simple. Control Esports, rough finish for the match and for the day, finishing in 13th with 0. AGG, another rough one, 14th place, but with 4 elims to add into it. Maryland, unfortunately for them, not a lot of momentum able to be kept there. 5 elims in 15th place. Just not the same Alpha 7 or Team Queso than that any of us were used to. And I think that realistically you could probably boil it down to, you know, just having some fun with the event, or maybe trying out their roster or their B squad. Just one thing is for sure, this is not Alpha 7 in their element. And a lot of these names here, you know, they're not the infamous Alpha 7. Cafe Rocks, Urso, and Gamer, these are phenomenal players, obviously. But, you know, when the prize pool is lesser than maybe some of the other events that you're competing in, it can sort of detract from the goal of necessarily winning the event so much as learning your opposition's strategies, gameplay, and then also perfecting your own strategies and plays using this as the opportunity. Because keep in mind, a lot of these are the teams that the Tier 1 pros are going to be facing off with for the entirety of this pro circuit season. So, well, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I do believe that we're going to have the final scores presented to us shortly. I'm going to double check on that, but we should be back in just a brief few short moments to go over the overall standings now for the grand finals of the PUBG Mobile Series Invitational here. But stick around. We'll be back in just a few short moments. Be back soon. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. We've got the final results of the PUBG Mobile Series League Grand Finals. And as much as I really want to like Ryan Seacrest this from American Idol, just like, and the winner is, or just like the Maury Show, when it comes to this season of the PUBG Mobile Series League, well, not going to do that any more than I just did. But here we have it, the final results as they are. Oop, I just pasted the second page and not the first. I'm noticing now that there are 2 pages. So here are the 10th through 20th position. Unfortunately for them, Alpha 7 finding themselves in last place, but I'm sitting here looking at the actual results. Let's get into it. The top 10 are dun 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 dun. Well, Control F. There we go. All right. Well, that is that. Let me see here. Congratulations to Dauntless. Oh my goodness. They take home the first place finish. Very, very impressive work there. And doing so with a 14-point lead over 9Z Globant, the second place holder. Realistically, this, anytime you win by over double-digit points, I think it's a pretty solid finish. But even taking into account the remainder of the playing field, 9Z all the way down to Be Bold, only separated by about 7 points. But realistically, that's a decent spread from second to fourth. And then there's quite a drop-off. We see Control and Death Wolves tied in terms of overall points at 36. But that's competing for 5th and 6th place, so realistically, it's not going to do anything in terms of payout. Nemesis with a real strong finish to end the day, and a nice note to end on. Not a bad finish overall either. Getting 7th place overall with 33 points, only 3 points behind 5th. So something to take into account. And also a little bit of credit to Smoke Gaming as well, just showing massive improvement in the second half of the day. Zombie Boys, a rough day for him for sure, in 10th place with 26. And working our way back to the previous tab here, 10th place going to 6 Karma, who ties Influence Rage at 22 points, but getting them, I guess, the placement overall. Influence in with 22 as well. We got VRZ Esports working their way into 12th at 20 points. Realistically, the surprising factor that I'm noticing of everything is that our bottom placing 3 teams were probably 3 out of the 4 that I would have projected to be our top performing teams. Intense Gaming with 11 points total, Queso with 10 points total, and then Alpha 7, who did in fact play every match today, 0 points total. Now, I'm not sure if that's entirely correct, but if it's not, but if it is, wow. All right. Well, either way, I just have to say, regardless of any official viewership, this has just been such an honor and a pleasure getting to cast the PUBG Mobile Series League, not just the Super Weekend, but the Grand Finals as well. That's 2 seasons in a row. I was lucky enough to be a part of this. Harry works very hard on managing and overseeing the entirety of this event. So he's doing it for 3 regions, all on his own back. He's doing all the graphics, doing everything. That is a huge workload on one person's shoulders. I know not everyone is familiar with the stresses and complications that come with moderating and organizing and running a tournament in PUBG Mobile Esports, but I definitely am, and I can tell you it is, for me, the Dead Month tournament was at the very least a part-time job's worth of labor, meaning at least 20 hours of work a week. So I can say with pretty much full confidence that for something of this magnitude, with as many dates as Harry's put into this, this is just a massive workload on one person's shoulders. So I want to give him a little credit where credit is due, and commend him for being able to pull this off.
Give me a hell yeah!
And anyways, well, this is the last season that the North American region will be allotted as many opportunities to go on to the finals, and I agree with it. There are just too many top performing teams from other regions that have outplayed on numerous occasions, and so I do agree with this decision, especially in terms of how it's attracted viewership. I will say that so the decision is essentially that moving forward in the future seasons of the PUBG Mobile Series League, there will only be 4 slots allotted to North America to move on to the SL Americas Grand Finals. So no more opportunities to buy your slot in if you're in NA. You're going to have to work for it and work hard. But that's future seasons of the PMSL, and I can't wait to tune in and check all the action. Until next time, everyone, huge shout out to Mira for raiding me and bringing all his community over, and huge shout out to Mira's community who stuck around for a huge portion of that, as they do every single time Mira raids me. That guy, just so phenomenally deserving of the growth he's made, and really proud of you, man. But ladies and gentlemen, I've been RedEyes. It's been an honor and pleasure getting to cast the PUBG Mobile Series League Grand Finals, and until next time, see you around.